who made it to the workshop today. What's up, y'all? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Emotional Workshop, your forever safe space to chill, feel, and heal. If you're new here, I'm Katera. I'm hella emotional, and I created the workshop for us to have a space to sit in our shadows, reflect on our thoughts, and come out on top. What's up? What's up? What's up? Y'all know I like to bring us in with a little jingle sometimes. I don't know. Do I do a jingle sometimes? I don't know. I feel like when I get in front of the camera, I just be doing stuff. So I don't even remember, but it feels second nature. So I'm pretty sure I do. But anywho, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode number 7 of season 2. We just making our progress. We are just doing our thing here. And I'm proud of y'all for showing up each week. And if you haven't showed up each week, I'm proud of you for showing up this week. Okay. That's all that I can really say. And that's all that matters. What's in the present? You're here now. Let's get it, right? So let's go ahead and get into this week's show. I'm going to start spin the block so y'all can be a little nosy in my business or whatever. And we're just going to get it popping like that. Let's go, y'all. So I'm still in the space of figuring out what my next move is. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not feeling my job. And yeah, I think this is the episode where I kind of talk a little bit more about what's going on at my job. Because I'm always just like, yeah, I don't know. And y'all are like, well, what don't you know? Okay. Oh my God, that just reminded me of my favorite movie of all time, which is The Wood. And if you are a Wood stan, then you already know what part I'm talking about when I say, what don't you know? So, and if you are a Wood stan and you don't know what I'm talking about, then you're not really a stan. So, anyways, I'm trying to figure out what my next move is going to be. And I'm just not sure. I'm very unsure. I'm very indecisive right now. There's different possibilities and different avenues I can take. But because of the uncertainty and not knowing what's coming next, I'm really nervous to take any type of action, whether to go this way or go that way. I don't know which way yet because I'm just kind of like, yo, what happens if this doesn't work? Or what happens if I don't take a risk and I stay where I'm at? Like, will I just like forfeit everything? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just in that space of just not knowing anything right now. But I know that I need to make a decision because no decision is complacency, is stagnancy, and no decision is a decision to stay comfortable. And I'm not really the type of person to stay comfortable, as we have seen. Okay. But other than that, I'm just out here living, grooving through life. Nothing too much this week. Just, as a single person living in a big city, not much is happening, especially when work is just so time consuming. Okay. It's just like, yes, I could go out after work and things like that. But then it's like trying to work out in the mornings because I go to the gym around 4 or 5 in the morning. So trying to do that in the morning, then get back to do work. And then after work, work on my business projects. Like after that, I need to eat and get in the bed so that I can be ready to get up in the gym, get to the gym by 4 or 5 in the morning. Like in order to get to the gym by 4 or 5 in the morning, you got to be in the bed by like 8 or 9, and it's like working from home. You do have flexibility to kind of like, if you wanted to go to the gym in the middle of the day, you probably could. I just don't know who's going to call me at what time. And I would hate for my workout to be interrupted. And I hate that anxiety feeling of like, oh my God, am I missing something at work because I'm like doing something outside of my home? Like, I hate that feeling. And always just being on edge during work hours when I'm supposed to be at the house. So it's just like, I don't feel like I have as much flexibility to kind of just make my schedule what I want it to be. And then, of course, you have a lot of meetings and just nonsense. And it's just like, yo, like all of this could really be an email unless we just need a clearer understanding. Then, okay, let's have a meeting. But I don't know, y'all. I'm just like, something's got to give. I got to figure out my next move because I just have other things I want to do in life. And it's not going the typical route. I just don't see that for myself. Just, I've done it. I've been doing it. And I want something else. So if I want something else and I have a different desire, then I should go for it. That's what I preach on this show. That's what I practice in my real life. So why is this time any different? I don't know. I'm just really scared this time because I'm like, I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. But I've been meditating a lot and just getting clear on my goals and where I want to go, what I want to do next. And it's been helping a lot. It's been helping me to just kind of see things for what they are, feel them without an extra thought, without overthinking, and removing all that extra jargon in my mind when I meditate. So when I'm done meditating, I revisit the decision and I'm like, okay, I still feel how I feel. I still feel like I should make this certain decision to do this thing. But when I sit on it too long, I start overthinking and then backing out of it. But then when I meditate and I come back and revisit it, it's always the same answer. Like, of course, go this way. But then when I think about everything that could go wrong, I'm like, no. We just got to stay here, So I just constantly have to think about how I've made big leaps and took big risks back in the day, So it's just been a journey, I feel like the journey of life is not the easiest, and we go through all of these different obstacles and challenges so that when we face them again, we're stronger and we don't allow our past to hold us back. So that's just the space I'm in right now. It's just like, do you take the lessons from the past and not make the same mistake again? Of course, yes. But do you also take the lessons from the past of the good things that happen and do that same thing again so that you can bring more good things in? It's just like that overthinking energy. I'm a big overthinker and I got to get out of my head. It's actually how I'm always like, yo, follow your feelings. If you feel a certain way, it doesn't matter what your ego or your mind is trying to tell you, because your mind is trying to keep you in safety and in comfortability, but your heart and your feelings are trying to lead you towards something bigger and better. And so right now my mind's in the way. My mind is in the way and I just can't get out of it. And I'm being so transparent because yes, I can sit here all day and be like, this is what you need to do. You need to do this. You need to do that. Get out your journals, write this down, all this stuff, right? But that still doesn't account for the fact that I'm still human. And even though I can go through all these different steps, I'm still like, I'm scared. I can't do that. I'm not going to do that, So I just want to be transparent with you guys because this is what you're going to experience when you're wanting to take big risks in life, when you're wanting to change something about your life, which this episode is about, honestly. And when you're wanting to just do something different, insert boundaries in your relationships, set out for new goals and expectations, like you're going to face fear, you're going to face anxiety, you're going to face complacency, comfortability, you're going to face all of these things, but it's up to you to listen to your intuition and to listen to how you feel to keep going, okay? And to not just stay somewhere that feels comfortable, or that because you don't want to rock the boat or you don't want to cause friction or conflict. It's just like there's a need for both. There's a need for a shakeup. There's a need for stability and comfortability. There's a need for conflict. There's a need for resolution and balance, so there's a need for it all. But not sometimes, all the time, you're going to have to jump into both. You're going to have your times in life where you're comfortable and stable, and you're going to have your times in life where you're unsure about what's next. So that's just life. I'm here to share my journey, and that's just where I've been at right now, like lost in the sauce of my mind, and I can't get out of it. And that's why I've been trying to meditate. I've been really busy this past week, so I haven't been to the gym as often as I normally go, and that really does help my mental, so I probably should go for some runs or something because that would help. But I've just been so busy with work and then trying to work on my side business that I was like, okay, I got to get this done and then I can get back onto my normal routine. So yeah, you guys, that's what life has been cracking up to be, and I'm just pushing and moving on through one step at a time, one push at a time. And it doesn't help that just other things in my life are just crumbling that have nothing to do with my career. And I'm just like, yo, can I catch a break? Like there's so much going on right now. But all in all, I'm grateful to be where I'm at right now. And I'm grateful that I even have the mentality to want more for myself, even if my mind is trying to keep me stagnant and comfortable. I'm grateful to be able to listen to my heart and to understand my intuition and to be so intuitive, So, what more can you ask for? It's not the easiest, but I'm grateful that I'm awake to my guidance and not just blindly following others in a certain kind of routine or system. Like, I'm real big on knowing what's for me and knowing what's not for me. So the bravest part about life is breaking away from what everyone tells you need to be doing, and that's just where I'm at. So I'm grateful that I'm able to see that. I'm grateful that I have the confidence and courage to even entertain that. Now, I just want to build up my confidence and courage to actually leap forward, because I've leaped forward so many times in my life. I go through it all the time on this podcast, y'all, all the time, which this episode is a full rundown of all of that. So you guys are going to be able to see it. And yeah, it's a good space to be in, but it's also tough, as I've been explaining. So that's what I've been up to this week, you guys. I hope you guys have had a fulfilling week, and it might be something in the air right now. We might all be struggling. Who knows? But if you are struggling, just know I'm here with you. We're all just trying to figure it out. And one day we'll have the answers. And all we can do is just keep walking through the journey and living our life. And eventually it'll all come together. And we'll look back and be like, I see why I went through that. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the word from the fam and tiptoe on over there. Let's go. So the quote of today comes from me, okay? Because it just comes from me. And of course, every quote in the history of life is just a mix of different words that we've seen or heard someone else say, right? So what I have to say today is, if everybody likes you, then you for everybody. And you don't want to be for everybody, okay? Because the most unique people in the world have both people who love them and big haters, okay? That's my word of advice this week, because a lot of us just want to be for everybody. A lot of us want to be people pleasers, or don't want to be. We are people pleasers. We want everybody to like us. We want everyone to subscribe to what we're thinking or feeling or saying or whatever. And to me, if you're for everybody, then you're for the masses. And that means you're probably a little watered down. You're not as authentic. And, it's just unreal. It's not true, and we appreciate the unique people in the world. You have to think about some of the people that you look up to, the people who inspire you the most. Does everyone like them? Probably not, but there is a big portion of people who like them, so they might be popular, whatever the case is. So we'll use some big name celebrities. Let's talk about Taylor Swift. She has a fan base out of this world, okay? They are literally her clones. They love her. But does she have big haters? Yes. There's a lot of people who don't like her too. But she's not out here trying to appease everybody. She's just being herself, doing what she wants to do. And she has the people who love her. Of course, my girl Beyonce. People, we stand B. We stand Queen B. But there is also a lot of people who are like, she's the devil. Don't listen to her. I would not listen to that secular music. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of big haters that do not like Beyonce. Kendall Jenner. Not Kendall, because I actually like Kendall. I don't think Kendall has big haters. I'm pretty sure somebody don't like her. But I'm going to say Kylie. Kylie has a huge fan base, and her sister, Kim Kardashian. Huge. I mean, Kylie wouldn't be known if it wasn't for Kim. I don't want to put that on her, because she might be, but she definitely had help with Kim. But just the whole Kardashian family in general, there's people who love them, will buy anything that they endorse, would just know everything about their lives. They love them. And then you also have people who are like, the Kardashians, like, how could you? Like, despicable. What? No. So these people stand in their power. They're authentic to themselves. They're not trying to appease to everybody, and they ain't for everybody. So if you don't take anything from this podcast today, take this. If everybody likes you, that means you for everybody. And you don't want to be for everybody. Where is the originality? Where is the originality? You're appeasing too many people. You need to cause a little friction and conflict to really be a unique person. And by the only way you can really cause friction and conflict is being authentically yourself, because people hate when people are unapologetically themselves. That's just is what it is. So people be mad. They be real mad. But, we don't strive for haters. But if you don't have any haters, that means you're not doing something right. That's just how I feel. Because not everybody is going to like you, because not everyone thinks the same. Not everyone has the same perspective, lives the same life, has the same opinion. So if you have an opinion that's likable by everyone, then I just don't feel like you're being genuine. That's just me. Don't judge me, judge your mama. I don't care. Okay. But anyways, that's my quote for a word from the fam this week. And we're going to go ahead and gather in the fellowship hall, y'all, for fellowship hour. I'm excited about today's show. Okay. Because I've always just given you guys little inklings about like how I changed my life and stuff like that. But today I'm going to bring it all into one episode, and I'm just going to go through every little aspect that I can remember. So today's episode is all about how you can change your life, with, of course, hefty examples of how I changed my life. When we talk about changing our life, it sounds so monstrous. It sounds like, oh my God, what do you mean? Just change my life? Like, what do I need to do? Do I need to like get a divorce? Do I need to drop my career? Do I need to just move to a new city and start over? Do I need to cut all my hair off and just have a different look? Do I need to, I don't know. Whatever you think is very monstrous, but that's how it sounds. And so a lot of people tend to back down from that because they're like, change my life? That just don't sound like something that's really feasible for me right now. So I'm going to just keep doing this until some type of opportunity comes by. And then it's just like, they never get to it. So I want to change your perspective about that. But we're going to go through everything. And to me, it kind of goes in steps when you're thinking about changing your life. So the first step is acknowledging that there's something about your life that you don't like. There's something that when you think about doing this thing in your life, it damn near tears you to pieces. You're just like, yo, why do I have to keep doing this? I am so sick of it. Or, yo, this really hurts my feelings and I'm still engaging in this. Or whenever I engage in this thing, it hurts my feelings. Or every time I have to go to this job, I just feel like a little piece of me leaves. Every time I engage in this friendship, I'm just like, yo, there's no give and take. There's just give all from me and just take from them. And when I say take from them, I mean they're taking from you. Like they're taking from you. If that makes sense. Y'all know what I mean. Okay. But they're not giving back to you. They're just taking from you. So we start to acknowledge like something needs to change. What does that look like? I'm not quite sure, but I know something needs to change. Also, when you're acknowledging this, you're also acknowledging how it makes you feel. So not only have you identified the problem, but you identified how it makes you feel, whether it makes you feel less than, it makes you feel drained, it makes you feel unloved, just whatever the situation may be, you're acknowledging your emotions in that situation. So for the people who are like, you know what, changing my life sounds too crazy right now, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. When you choose to not identify the problem and identify how it feels for you, you don't know how to steer clear of it in the future, because honestly, you're going to still be in that energy and continue to be in it in your present day life because you're not even acknowledging that there's an issue. So there is no room for growth or change because you're not even willing to take the first step. So as an example of something, identifying some type of issue in your life, let's say that you have a brother or something, right? He always comes by your house unannounced and he just is like, I'm here, let's do this. Or, hey, I'm coming to chill or whatever. And just like pops up type thing. Doesn't even really call and say, hey, I'm coming to chill. Just kind of pops up like, hey, I'm here to chill, right? And so you, it kind of just throws your energy off all the time because you're the type of person who needs plans and you need to be able to have a heads up, whether it's an hour before, 24 hours before, a week before, whatever works for you, you need that. But because he's your brother and because you love him and you do enjoy the time that y'all have, you just kind of let it slide. But there are times where he comes over and you're like, yo, I was working on something. Now I had other things to do. I had other plans today. But now that he's here, I'm just going to go ahead and let him stay. You start to acknowledge this issue. Like you're fed up, and you get to a point where you're like, okay, something's got to give, because literally I've missed out on so many hours of work I could have been doing, or I missed out on this plan that I already had because I allowed him to continue to come over, and it's just throwing my structure off. It's throwing my energy off. I need to figure out something. And then you start to, well, you already acknowledge how it makes you feel. It kind of makes you feel as if there's a disregard for your time. The root issue here is you feel that this person feels entitled to your time and is not very considerate of what you may have going on. Now, the solution for you would be to impose your boundaries, have a conversation, and be like, you know what? I enjoy having you over. I enjoy having your company, but I do need a little bit of a heads up. I do need you to let me know a day in advance. I do need you to let me know a few hours in advance, or at least check with me to see, hey, you got any plans? Hey, can I come over? And I'll let you know then, hey, no, today's not good. Hey, yeah, you can come over later. Give me like 2-3 hours, whatever the case is. At least allow me to communicate what I need instead of just imposing yourself over here, right? I mean, of course, you could say that in any way that sounds nicer, or whatever works for you. If you want to be more blunt, whatever. But by acknowledging that issue, you're able to change how things work in you guys' relationship and potentially change your life. That was just a small example, but that is what it looks like to acknowledge your issues and acknowledge the things that you need to change in your life, or that you want to change in your life, especially based off of how you feel. So the second part of changing your life to me is basically referring back to the previous episode of meeting your own goals and expectations, right? You need to set a firm goal. And you need to figure out, where am I trying to go? What's my vision? What am I trying to get to? Okay. What do I want to change my life to? I know that this is an issue. I know that this is making me feel a certain way. So what do I want? Going back to the episode of what do you want, right? This whole season can really help you change your life, because it's going to give you the tools to set the goals. It's going to give you the tools to get past fear. It's going to give you the tools to figure out what you do want and not what you don't want. And there's even more left in the season. I still have even more to uncover to help you guys make these changes in your life. So anywho, you have to make a goal. You have to stick to it for the second step of wanting to change your life. And even though you're ready to make this change right now, you still have to remember that it's going to be scary to try to reach this new goal or expectation. And it's also going to take time. You're going to have to be patient. Like, you can take a step tomorrow, but in order for things to really start to play out, it's going to take time, and you're going to have to sit in that uncomfortable energy until things work itself out, or until you can find other solutions for yourself. So there's many things, like I said, that you can change your life in. It can come to your habits, your relationships, your lifestyle, perspective, your intellect, your physical body, your religion or spirituality. There's just so many different things that come up in life that you're like, you know what? I want to shift gears. I want to do this way, or I want to think about things differently in this way so I can bring this type of thing in. There's just so many different ways to look at it. I say that to say, don't get overwhelmed with all of these things that you want to change, because these things could come up in your life all at one time, and you could really stress yourself out trying to figure out, okay, what do I do next? What do I want to do? How can I do all this at one time? And it's like, that's not possible, because you have to get really, really specific on one thing at a time. And by doing that, you'll be able to get really clear. And even when you get specific on that one thing that you want to change, you still have to take time to ponder on it, to sleep on it, to meditate on it, to wait, to act and decide on something, because first you have the thought and the desire, the feeling to want to do something, right? Which is that goal we were talking about in the previous episodes. And then you have to explore the different options and see, is this even the right thing that I want to do for myself? So it's not like you can just think of a goal and just go ahead and act and decide on it. No, because you really have to ponder and figure out, okay, what's the best next move for me? Do I really want to do this thing? Is this thing the right thing for me? What can I see it coming into my life for? What can I see it doing for me? All these different questions. So the biggest thing about changing your life is patience, but we also get patience confused with staying comfortable, because we'll go through all these motions. We'll start thinking about all the different things that we need to do. And then we'll get scared in that whole self-sabotaging energy, trying to distract ourselves, right? And then we will just forget about the goal or put it on the back burner because we're like, I'm just gonna wait on it, wait until the right opportunity comes. And it's like, that's where things get murky, because sometimes the right opportunity doesn't come until you decide to take a step, until you decide that I'm going to remove this thing out of my life and then go this way, right? And then sometimes it comes when you're just sleeping on the idea, when you're just pondering on the idea, thinking about it and waiting to act and decide, but not necessarily when you just given up and distracted yourself from it. Because even if you're waiting to decide and pondering and meditating on it, you should still be taking actionable steps towards that goal. You shouldn't just not do anything towards it, but you don't have to full-fledged go and do the full entire goal until you're 100% sure, or even 70% sure, because you might not ever be all the way sure. You might always have that little doubt in the back that's like, I don't know about this, but at least I'm gonna try, right? So remember, even if you're being patient and pondering, that doesn't mean stop. When you stop, you become distracted and you're choosing to do nothing, and you're choosing to stay comfortable and stagnant. So remember those things. So when you're deciding to change your life in a big way, a small way, whatever it looks like, there are some things you do need to be aware of, which I've kind of touched on. So one of the number one things you want to be aware of is imposter syndrome. Telling yourself that you're not good enough, having low self-worth, and really imposing on your own success and progress because you don't feel like you're worthy of it, or whatever you're trying to do is valuable enough, or that you just aren't confident enough to take this big step, right? So be very aware of imposter syndrome. Another thing to be aware of is self-sabotage. We talked about that in the last episode as well. Or was it? No, it wasn't the last episode. Maybe it was. It was distractions, I think. The D's for distraction. Recognize when you are, number one, being an imposter and not allowing yourself to just be who you are and embracing that. And then sabotaging, literally doing other things that don't pour into that goal, distracting yourself from getting it done, distracting yourself from changing your life, choosing to stay complacent and comfortable because that feels safe right now. And another thing you need to really, really be aware of when you're trying to change your life are all your traumas and triggers. Okay, of course, you might not know them all right now, but you know a good amount to be aware of. And you know the things that trigger you back into your unhealthy habits, that trigger you back into texting that person you shouldn't be texting, that triggers you to be lazy. There's so many different things that you need to be aware of, because when you're changing your life and you're living a life of uncertainty, I know that earlier I gave the example of your brother and the boundaries, and that was really, really small, but like changing your life is way bigger than that. That was just a really small example. Changing your life literally means you're trying to change the path that currently going in, and that is not easy. Like, you're trying to jump from one thing to another. And I used the example in one of the episodes where I said an alcoholic decides, when I was talking about destiny and fate, an alcoholic can have the destiny and fate of having his whole life of being an alcoholic and not getting off of that path. But one day a light bulb could go off where they're just like, cold turkey, I want to start going to AA and I want to get rid of this. Even though I know I'm still going to have those traumas and triggers pop up, I want to actively work on being sober, right? So that's hard. That is not easy at all. And that's what changing your life feels like. You have to make some sacrifices and you have to jump from one path to another. And this path is very uncertain because you've been living this comfortable path. You know what this is going to bring you. So you're just like, you could stay there, but you know that you're not happy staying there. It's different if you're happy being in that energy and there's nothing else that you long for or desire. If there's something that you long for and desire, then you're going to definitely want to make that shift. And the shift, like I said, is just not the easiest. So you need to be aware of the things that are going to pop up. And you need to just have that not in the forefront of your mind, because then you'll get very anxious and fearful, but you just need to have it in your mind somewhere. So you know how to deal with it when it comes, and you know how to recognize it, because when it pops up, then you're like, okay, this isn't my life. This is something from my past, and I know how to work on it now. I know how to get myself out of this funk. I know how to get up and not be lazy anymore. I know how to cut out this bad habit, because I know that when this thing happens, and then this thing happens, right? So for an example, I'm a stressful binge eater, right? So of course I'm not like a binge eater to the point that like it's like a eating disorder, not that bad, but I definitely like, if I don't like my job and it's very, very stressful, I'm the type of person who's going to go get fast food a lot, like a lot. And it's just like, I recognize the pattern. And so I have to be very aware that when I'm going through uncertain times and things are stressful, okay, hey, you've eaten out a little bit too much this week. We need to cook some food. We need to go ahead and meal prep so we have those things ready in the fridge so I can make healthier decisions for myself as I'm going through this transition, because as I'm in a place of stability, I'm already in a place of stress. And the stability to me it's comfortability because it's stable, but it's not a happy comfortability because it's causing me stress and it's causing me to go and do all these things that are unhealthy habits. And as I'm going through a transition of uncertainty and choosing a life of uncertainty, then I'm going to deal with those same stressors because I'm going to have that anxiety and fear of what's next, what do I need to do, what do I need to do, like how do I need to move, shake and groove and all that kind of stuff. So that's another stress that's going to pop up. So just being aware of your traumas and triggers from your past and how that affects your future and your present day life is going to be very, very, very crucial in order for you to not fold, honey, not fold when things get stressful while you're changing your life, because you're entering a new foreign land, a land of things you know nothing about, of the unknown. And so with that comes a lot of fear. Okay. We make up scenarios, we make up things to fit our narrative of what our logical mind thinks might happen because we don't know what will happen. So therefore, we have to be aware of that. One thing about your traumas and triggers as well is that you have to have discernment, okay? Because sometimes your traumas and triggers can trick you into thinking that something is what it isn't. And sometimes it can act as an intuitive guide to showing you, okay, this is what it is. All right, you've seen this before. This is a red flag. Don't do that again, or don't go in that path, or leave that thing alone. But sometimes it can trick you into thinking that it's way worse than what it is. And really it's nothing like that. So that's why you have to get real familiar and real comfortable and become besties with your traumas and triggers, okay? Because they're going to tell you, they can be a helpful tool. Let's put it that way. They can be a helpful tool for you to navigate the red flags and the green flags of life. But if you aren't comfortable with them, and if you always shy away from trying to get to the root of the issues of your traumas and triggers, they're going to trick you every single time. And you're going to be in situations where you're like, yo, I thought this was this, but it's not. Because I was thinking this way and I still had this same past perspective. So an example of that, this is a really good example. So we're going to stick to the whole brother dropping by your house and not giving you any type of heads up example, right? Let's say your traumas and triggers, you have that trauma and trigger of your brother just stopping by and just like inserting himself into your space and not being considerate of your time, right? Let's say he calls and he's like, hey, I just wanted to see if I could drop by. Just wanted to, give you a heads up or whatever. Now, if you're not real good with your traumas and triggers, you might think, is he trying to be shiesty? Is he trying to, like be funny acting because I told him that I need him to call, even though you told him to do that? That's how crazy your traumas and triggers can get with you. They can literally make you feel like people are against you when in reality you were like, hey, give me a call, give me a heads up first. And so if you're on the petty side of things and you're not really working through things and you feel like he's trying to be funny or, trying to act funny with you or whatever, then you're going to read it as he trying to get smart. Like, what? Like, he can come over, when you're the one who said, give me a call, be considerate of my time. And it's like, even though that you inserted that boundary, sometimes our triggers will just take over like that, y'all. And I know you've experienced it before. I know you have, because I have. I've definitely done it before. And it's just like, well, you definitely said that. So why are you acting like that? Like, this is what you wanted. So why are you acting like that? You have to be aware of that. And on the flip side of that, if it's acting as an intuitive guide, you might think, oh, he's being respectful. He's being He's honoring my boundaries. I really appreciate that. I love that we can have this kind of dialogue with one another and we can move forward, you know? So it can look two different ways. Like I said, it can look like an intuitive guide for you if you're real friendly with your traumas and triggers, or it can look like playing tricks on you because you're not comfortable with them and you're not truthful about them. But if you have any question about, are my traumas and triggers playing tricks on me, or is it being an intuitive guide, all you have to do is insert that boundary again. You know, let's say he calls and you're like, hey, actually, right now it's not a good time. How about tomorrow or sometime later next week? Okay, you insert your boundary and then you see what the reaction is. If the reaction is, okay, yeah, that's cool, sis, you know, I'll see you next week, or I'll give you a call tomorrow, whatever, then you'll be able to look back at your traumas and triggers and be like, okay, whatever I was thinking, if I was thinking he was being petty, then I need to work on my traumas and triggers. If I was thinking that he was being respectful, then I'm doing a good job. I am healing through this. I'm using my traumas and triggers as a tool. I'm besties with my traumas and my triggers, okay? Now, if he gets smart with you and he's like, you don't ever want to see me and you just being petty and da-da-da-da-da-da, like, I really just wanted to come over for a little bit. It wasn't nothing, like just being very combative about it. Then you can also look at your traumas and triggers and be like, okay, it was acting as an intuitive guide for me to know that he's on some other stuff, you know what I'm saying? But also, what am I not seeing here? Am I not communicating my boundaries well enough? Do I need to recognize that he may be the problem? You know, like there's something here that's not going right. And either he's an extremely petty person that isn't able to understand other people's perspective, or I'm not being 100% clear that no matter how much time we spend together, I still love you. And I understand that maybe you love quality time, but I also need quality time for myself. You know, maybe I need to explain it in a different way. But you also shouldn't take it as it's a you problem, because whatever their actions are have everything to do with them internally. And that's always going to be the case. So your traumas and triggers can help you just dive deeper into yourself. And especially when it comes to changing your life, it'll really provide you with a navigation, or it'll provide you with a navigation on how you need to go through your traumas and triggers and work more on them. So as you go through this journey, you know, there's going to be ups and downs, twists and turns, and I'm just saying, be ready. You know, I don't want to give off the perception that when you change your life, it's all roses and daisies and it's just fun, because yes, you'll have some fun aspects. Yes, you'll have some times where you're like, this is amazing. And then other times you're just like, yo, what's happening? Oh my God. I just don't know if I'm gonna make it tomorrow. Like, how am I gonna make it to the next day? Because like, what is life right now? And what's going on? Some people really think, you know, if I write down my goals, I stay consistent and I'm patient, everything will come into fruition. And I'm like, yo, that sounds amazing. If that was the formula, sign me up. Okay, please. I would love that. Yes, all of those things are required, but there's so much more that comes with it. And we've already talked about it. Just your past comes back and it influences your everyday decisions. And if you haven't worked on your past, or you don't take the time to really evaluate your past and your emotions, then it's going to be a harder time for you. You're not going to understand how to deal with these other emotions that pop up, along with this fun and enlightened emotion of desire that you're chasing. You also have to deal with all that other stuff, all the things that make you feel less than, all the things that make you feel scared. Everything that we've talked about this season, you're going to have to deal with that. So you need to be prepared. And yes, you can do it simultaneously as you're changing your life, working on your problems and your history and stuff like that. I just don't recommend that, because you want to talk about a life of uncertainty, honey. You don't know what's going to pop up when you're dealing with your issues in your past and stuff like that. So I just recommend that you take the time to try to heal through some things and take yourself on a little healing journey and just get better and better as time goes on. And I definitely feel like as you're taking a leap of faith towards change in any area of your life, you're definitely still going to be healing. You know, I just wouldn't recommend starting the healing as you're trying to do a change, but starting the healing might make a change happen. It might just go together like that. I'm not here to tell you exactly the formula of how you should run your life or the decisions that you should make for your life. I'm just here to give you the knowledge so that you can make the right informed decision for yourself. So for example, let's say you wanted to change up your friend group and you just are like, I want more friends that understand me, that like the things that I like, and just whatever the case may be. if you haven't worked on your traumas and triggers and just things in your past, then you're going to attract those same people that you're trying to get away from because you're not willing to acknowledge the issues and see the red flags so that you can stay away from those red flags. You'll always be wondering, why are all the people I keep attracting all the same? Like, is it me? Yes, it's you. Okay. It might not be you directly, but it is something in your subconscious, something that you're dealing with in your energy that you haven't dealt with. Like you're continuously carrying it and all the baggage, but you're not dealing with it head on. So once you start working through your trauma, your triggers, and just healing through certain things, you can really get clear on what your goals and expectations are going to be. And when you decide on what you want to reach, what you want to go towards, and how you want to change your life, there will be many opportunities. Once you make that one decision, many opportunities start coming to you in order to allow you to make that change in your life. And it can come in so many different forms. So let's say you wanted to change up like your religion or spirituality or something. All of a sudden, you make that decision, you start looking at resources for it, and then one day you're scrolling on social media and you see a group of people switching from one religion to the other, and they're just talking about it and just talking about it. Here's some more opportunities for you to learn. And then you might see a meetup group that pops up somewhere and you're like, oh, maybe I should go check that out. And it's just like you make the decision for you, and then your life starts to change. But you have to be the one to get in the driver's seat and say, hey, this isn't working for me. I want this. So therefore, I'm going to seek out knowledge and resources for it and let the universe know this is what I want. Let myself know this is what I want. This is what I want my awareness to be. So therefore, I'm going to keep it in my awareness. Because like we said in the other episodes, energy grows where energy flows. So if I'm focusing my attention on this, then I will receive more of it. That's just how it works. So you make the decision, you can change your life. But I don't want to give false hope, because it's like, if you don't work on that past energy, even if you do focus on the things that you want to be in your awareness, you won't see it all, because the universe has a weird way of saying, hey, we won't let your past energy tarnish this new beautiful beginning. We won't let it happen. So deal with all that first. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like if you were to be dating someone, right? And you were still talking to your ex, like you were still friends with your ex and y'all have been together for like 5-6 years, 5 to 10 years, whatever, however long y'all were together. You still communicate with them and you're dating this new person, and they're like, you know what? I know that we're just dating and we're not like serious or anything, but I also don't want this extra energy in our relationship. So how about you go handle that first, finish it up, do what you got to do, and then you can come holler at me and we could talk, maybe, if I'm still feeling it. That's kind of what the universe is like. They're like, yo, we know that you want this beautiful thing. You can have it, but like you can't have it with that too. So we're gonna have to do something here. Like, make a decision, mama. Make a decision. Do you want this? Because you can have that. You can keep that if that's what you like. But if you want this thing that you really eyeballing and you have the desire for, then we're gonna need you to wrap that up. Okay. So that's just a real life way of thinking about how things will work out for you, but not in the manner that you want them to until you can release other things. And that can be ideas, perspectives, people, situations, jobs. It can be anything. Whatever you need to release, you got to go within yourself to figure out what it is that needs that releasing. All right, you guys. So it is time for me to get into my little story about how I changed my life to where I am right now. Okay. And I have clips of this, and I'm still not sure if I want to insert them into this episode or if I just want to do like, I don't know, if I just want to do like a full separate episode on my YouTube channel just showing me changing my life. Because I have videos in my old apartment where it was like move out day, and then when I got to my Airbnb in Dallas and all that kind of stuff, and then when I got to my apartment, like I took videos of all that stuff. So I just don't know when I want to insert it or how I want to release it to the world. So if it ends up popping up here, yay. I'll probably do a voiceover saying, you guys, I decided I'm editing this now and I decided to whatever. But if it doesn't pop up, then I'm going a different route and we'll figure it out eventually. But anywho, I was so over living in Nashville. Okay. I had been in Nashville for about 15 years, I think, because I went there when I was a child. So, and I told you I was raised in Georgia. And then I was raised in Fort Campbell, Kentucky for about 3 years, 3, 4 years. So yeah. Then I went to Nashville for high school. Yeah. Yeah, it was high school. So I stayed there from high school all the way until 2021. Yeah, 2021. So that's about 15 years or so. And I was just over it, you guys. I was just over the same routine, seeing the same people. Like, I love my friends, I love them to death, but I felt like I had a responsibility to always hang out with people because I was so close to them. And like proximity wise and distance wise. And it felt like if I said no, then it was a bad thing, you know? And that comes from different feelings and different issues on my part as well. I just felt really stuck and like entangled in everything. And I just felt like I couldn't move for some reason. It just felt like there was no progress there. Like their jobs were terrible. The people were just kind of mediocre, not including my friends because they were my friends for a reason, you know. But the other people were just mediocre. And it just felt, Nashville just has this small town feel to it, even though it's a major city. It definitely gives small town, major city feel. And I just didn't like that because I've just always been the type of person who embraced adventure in life and embraced the unknown. So being around something that was that familiar for so long, and to the point where anywhere I went, I saw someone I knew, I was like, yo, I can't do this. Like, I'm not the type of person who wants to be in a city where anywhere I go, I see somebody I know. I don't like that. Do not like that. I don't care if I go every now and then I see someone, I'm like, oh, hey girl, how's it going? But like everywhere I went, because I went to high school there and because Nashville's not big, I would see someone I knew. And it's like I felt so obligated to always keep these connections or talk to people just because we went to school together or just because I know of you or whatever. And it's just like, I don't want to do that. And I also want to be in a place where don't nobody know who I am because yeah, I just had a lot of feelings about wanting to be in a bigger city. I had a lot of feelings about wanting to be in something unfamiliar and unknown, okay? Because growing up as a child, I loved to move. I was like, yo, when are we moving again? Like, I want to go somewhere else. Like, I want to see this city and that city and that city. I love to move. And primarily growing up as a military child, you know, you kind of conditioned to move. But there was a time and place, like I said, I spent my whole entire time in Nashville in high school. So we were there for a very long time. And I was just like, I even had a point where I left Nashville to go live with my family in Georgia. And I left for about like 3 months. And I went from like a Thanksgiving break to a Christmas break. And I went to a whole new high school. That's so funny just talking about it. But I went to a new high school for like 3 months and I stayed with my cousin and her family or whatever. And I just remember, like, I just loved it. I went to a new school and I was just like, oh my God, I always wanted to go to the school because, like, all my cousins went to this high school. So I was just like, I want to go there. And I went and it was cool and I had fun. But then my cousin was, like, being a bitch to me. And I was just like, I'm going back home. So then I popped back into Nashville for my junior year, I think. Or maybe, no, it's my sophomore year, the following semester for, like, the spring semester. And I was just like, I'm back, everybody. They're like, oh, we thought you moved. I'm like, I did, but I came back. Yo, I've always just kind of been like the weird girl. It's just like, why did she do that? Oh my God. Sorry. I just had to laugh because I was really on some other shit. I really was. The fact, I appreciate my mom for just letting me be me because I was just like, I want to go do this and I want to go do that. And she let me, you know, like I had my first tattoo as a freshman in high school. Okay, I had my nose pierced and a tattoo. And people were looking at me like, yo, you got your nose pierced? And I was just like, yeah. They're just like, how? I was like, my mom took me. Like, she went with me. And they're like, what? It was so crazy. It was so freaking funny. But I've always been that girl that's just like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And y'all can't stop me. Ain't nobody stopping me. Okay. Word up to Beyonce. But I got real tired of Nashville. Okay, real tired. As you can see, as what I'm telling you about how I lived my life up until Nashville, it's just always kind of been spontaneous, and I wanted to continue that. But of course, as a child, you only have so much say so on where you're at. So it was around like 23, 24. I was like, yo, I want to move to Atlanta. I just want to live in Atlanta. Because, I mean, I'm from Georgia. Like, my whole roots, my whole family's from Georgia. Not Atlanta, though. We're from, like, a place called Perry. And it's like, every time I tell people that, they're like, I ain't never heard of that. I'm like, yeah, because it's the deep, 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 deep country. Like, I literally grew up on land, just land and forest. Okay. My uncles had dirt bikes and motorcycles and a shed and a garden. Like, we were out there barefoot, okay, in the grass. That was us. So Perry is like, I always use this. If you know where Macon is at, Perry is like an hour from Macon. Okay. And if you know where Warner Robins is at, Perry's like 30, yeah, about 30 minutes from Warner Robins, depending on how far into Perry you're trying to go. But anywho, I was like, I want to move to Atlanta because it's the city, but it's also like, I just love Georgia and I haven't been to Atlanta in so long. I used to go to Atlanta like twice a year because it was 4 hours away from Nashville. So I would just go all the time. And I just love Atlanta. Like, it's Georgia, number one. And I'm from Georgia. So it just speaks to my heart. I've always stand for Georgia Southern cooking because I just feel like can't nobody cook like Georgia. People would love to, a lot of people don't like Atlanta's food. People are always like, it's not good. And I'm just like, well, I don't know. Maybe I need to go to Marietta or something because I just love Georgia food. And I just feel like the way that we cook soul food is just a little different than like Tennessee and Houston and Mississippi and New Orleans and all that. I feel like we all just have our own little spin on Southern food. So, and of course, New Orleans is Creole, so it's a little different. But to the topic at hand, I wanted to move to Atlanta because it was familiar and it just seemed fun. Like, it was a childhood dream of mine. Every time we would pass through Atlanta to go back home, I would just feel like, oh my God, look at city. Like, I want to be in the city, you know? So I really wanted to be in a city life, and Nashville just wasn't doing it for me. Like, what, Broadway? Like, that's the most city life you're going to get. The rest is country. It's just country, redneck town. And I'm just like, I don't like it here. So all those years I was thinking about moving and I was like, well, as soon as I get done with school, I'm gonna move to Atlanta. That was my goal. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet, but I'm gonna just be applying for jobs. So I was applying for a lot of jobs in Atlanta. I forgot about this. I was applying for a lot of interior design jobs in Atlanta my senior year. I had some interviews, but as a person coming right out of school, like, you're going to have a lot of interviews and you barely going to get a job because they're like, you don't got no experience for real. I did have my 2 years of experience with my internship though. So that was helping me get in the door a lot. Then COVID hit, right? And I was like, well, there goes my Atlanta plans because I'm not going to move right now. I don't really know what's to come. I was so uncertain. We were all so uncertain about what life was going to look like after that. So I was just like, let me just stay put for now until I can kind of figure something out. And as time went on, things started to happen in my life where I was recognizing there was a lot of different issues I needed to work on. So I started to work on those issues. I started to delve into my traumas and triggers, having crying nights at my altar, like really getting deep to my healing and really trying to figure out what life was. Because I always had this inkling that I was a very spiritual person. I just didn't know how to communicate it and where to look, what avenues to look in. So I started to get real heavy into spirituality. And that's where I really changed my life with spirituality. And then after I got heavy into that, I started to see everything so clearly. You know, I started to see how my relationships in my life were just not for me anymore, how I was outgrowing friendships, how I was not being treated fairly in my relationships. So then I was like, I gotta move, shift, and shake. I gotta do something. And I know I want to move. I've been saying I wanted to move, even to the point where people were like, I thought you were moving this year. I'm like, what? COVID happened. So therefore, yeah, I'm not moving. So yeah, like, I'm not moving. And then I started to see people were still moving about life like they normally were. And I was like, well, I can still move. Like, there's no reason why I can't move, but do I still want to go to Atlanta? And around this time, this is when the riots and stuff in Atlanta has started. And I was like, I don't know if I want to move to Atlanta. Not that, you know, I'm not the type of person who's not into activism. You know, I'm definitely a person who wants to do my part where I can, that's comfortable for me, that works for me. But I didn't want to be in something so chaotic. And I feel like Atlanta is a very chaotic city, and it's just getting worse and worse while the years go on. So I changed my shift about Atlanta, and it just it didn't feel right to me. And so I started to get all these little inklings about Texas. Like, I have always been the person that was like, I've never been to Texas and I really want to go to Texas. Like, I've been to so many places, but I want to go to Texas. I don't know why, but I want to go. So everything around me, when I was driving in Tennessee, I would see Texas license plates everywhere. Everywhere I went. I was just like, yo, did everyone from Texas just move here or something? Like, why am I seeing Texas license plates everywhere? Then I had ordered some Wingstop one day. This is a funny story because this is how things happen. This is literally how things happen when you decide that you want to make a decision for yourself, right? I ordered some Wingstop one day and I was looking at the email of my order confirmation, and I looked and I saw that their headquarters was in Dallas, Texas. And I was like, yo, this can't be a coincidence. Like, I know that this has always been a thing. They didn't just move their headquarters there. And I always order Wingstop, but I've never, ever looked at the email in detail to see where their headquarters was at. And I just didn't think it was a coincidence. I thought it was literally like a part of my fate. And I was like, this is literally a sign of some sort. And we can make fun of all the people who are like, oh, it's a sign, but like, if you're gonna make fun of those people, then you'll never see the signs. So it's like, either you're going to embrace the signs or you're not going to embrace them. And I embraced them, seeing all those Texas license plates, and then trying to figure out, okay, do I want to go to Texas? Do I want to move to Texas? And I was in between Houston and Dallas because I was like, I want to be around a lot of Black people, but I also am a chill person. I like being in the city, but I don't want to be in chaos. So like, what is the perfect mesh for me? And then I finally landed on Dallas after all of the different signs and synchronicities I would see. The signs got so bad, y'all, that people that I was watching on YouTube were just going to Dallas like I don't know, like wildfire. It was just spreading, and the people just kept going like every other week, every week. I was just seeing another video about people in Dallas, and I was just like, okay, like I know how the algorithm works, you know what I'm saying? You get to talking and they listen, all that kind of stuff. But I also feel like these things don't just happen for no reason. So I knew I had to make a decision, because around this time, it was probably like April or May. And I was like, okay, your lease is up in June. Do you want to try to find another apartment? You have options here. You want to find another apartment? Do you want to stay here and renew your lease? Or do you want to try to move out of Tennessee? And it sounded so crazy because it's April. It's April and my lease is up in June. How in the world can I decide if I want to move all the way to Texas in the span of 4 months? How am I going to do that? Okay. Because if I do that, I have to quit my job, right? And I have to restructure my whole entire life and figure out what's next. So when I entertained the fact of looking for another place, I was looking at places. I wanted to move closer into Nashville because I was in Murfreesboro. And Murfreesboro, if you're not from Nashville, of course, it is about 45 minutes away from Nashville. I wanted to live in the city. So I started looking at different apartments in the city. The rent there was wild. It was wild. And I can't say it was any more expensive than what I'm paying here. But my salary that I had there, I was like, I can't afford this. Like, what I can afford is going to put me in the slums if I move to Nashville. But I could stay here and pay this nice little rent, or move to something in Murfreesboro. But like, what's the point? Like, I don't want to stay in Murfreesboro, number one. I really don't even want to stay in Nashville because I'm sick of seeing the same people all the time, and I'm sick of not having anything to do. Like, it's just boring here to me. I feel like there's not much opportunity. I'm sick of the jobs. So do I even want to stay in Nashville? These are all the things that I'm asking myself and really trying to like, is this what I want? What do I want? Okay. Not what I don't want. That I just named all the things that I don't want. What do I want? I said, well, I really wanted to move to Atlanta last year. Now I have the opportunity because my lease is up to move out of Nashville in general. Where do I want to go? The sky's the limit. Where do I want to go? At first I was like, I really would love to go to New York. Like, that would be a dream to live in New York. And I had to humble myself real quick. I'm like, yeah, that is a dream. That is a dream to live in New York unless I'm a millionaire, okay? Because if I want to get out there and really struggle, let's move to New York. But that wasn't an option. So then I was like, okay, let's look at Houston and Dallas. Let's look at those two because I'm really intrigued by Texas. I got all of these different signs and synchronicities about Texas. Which one is best for me? So I'm looking up the cost of living in Houston. Beautiful, really affordable places, right? You just have to worry about the hurricanes that come through. You just have to worry about the craziness of Houston. If you know about Houston, you know it's crazy. Okay. I can't say it's any worse than Atlanta though. Like Atlanta definitely is reaching the levels of like, we don't want to go there. And Houston is still on the map for us to go to. And so I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? After I got all those synchronicities about Dallas, I was like, I think I want to move to Dallas. Had never been there ever. But a part of me was just like, yo, I just think I want to move there. I think I want to move to Dallas. And so I started telling my friends and stuff like, I'm thinking about moving to Dallas. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, we know you've been talking about you wanted to move to Atlanta. Like, what happened to Atlanta? Why Dallas? What are you going for? And I'm just like, I don't have any answers. I don't have any answers, you guys. All I know is that I want to move. Dallas has been in my awareness. So I'm just going to like try it. And worst case scenario, I can always come back to Nashville if push comes to shove. Like, worst case scenario. I don't know. So I don't know. I'm just going to try it. Everyone's just like, okay. I mean, if that's what you're going to do, whatever, people have their thoughts and their opinions and they're just like, are you sure about this? What about their laws? Like all this kind of stuff. I'm like, laws? Like, what? Do you know me? I don't be paying attention to that. Yes, I know they're very crucial, but I don't allow them to stop me in my decisions. Okay. I don't. And of course, everybody has that mentality until a law makes them stop their decision. But I'm always finding a loophole. I'm just going to put that right there, right now. That's all I can say. So it's leading up to the time that I am about to start to leave, right? Because I have to give like a 60-day notice. So I had to put my notice in by May. And when I put the notice in, I was like, not May, by April. I had to put it in by April. So I was like, yo, I'm putting this notice in. So that means like, I gotta move. Like, I'm not gonna have a place to stay if I don't move. And if I put this notice in, that means I have to put in a notice at my job. So like, once you put it in at your job, like, it's really real. It's really real. So I put in my notice at my job and everyone's like, oh my God, like, what are you gonna do? I'm just like, oh, I got this remote job and I'm just moving to Dallas and all that kind of stuff. I didn't have a job, but I was too shameful to be like, I'm just leaving out here on faith and changing my life. Because I like to keep things to myself because people are going to insert their fears and doubts on you and they're going to make you not want to do it. And who wants that? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to deal with everyone else's negativity when they're trying to keep themselves up. I'm already scared, you know what I'm saying? I'm already dealing with all this anxiety and fear and not knowing where life is taking me. But I also know that my heart is telling me I need to do something else and it's leading me in this direction. Even though my mind can't wrap around what's happening, how it's going to work, I just know that I gotta lead. I gotta follow my intuition. That's just how I live my life. And so sometimes I have to protect my visions and my goals from other people because they're going to insert their fears as to why they wouldn't do it, and I want to inspire people if they so choose to feel this way or they acknowledge that they have another burning desire within them. But I also don't want to let out so much information that people start to insert their own thoughts and opinions into it because it ain't got nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with me. So sometimes you have to protect yourself and protect what you have in mind and what you're trying to work towards in order for it to come to fruition, or else you're going to allow their thoughts to stop you. So yeah, I lied about having a job and I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to go out here and do like stuff or whatever. And whatever. So put in my notice or whatever. I'm pretty sure they didn't like me at that job, so it didn't really matter. But I did give a hefty notice. I gave them like a month notice. Like that's nice. Like I didn't have to do that, but I did. Okay. So I gave them that notice. And that was real for me because at that point it was crunch time. So I had to start looking up different ways to get my car to Dallas. And like all of this felt so surreal to me because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before. I've never moved to another state by myself. And I couldn't ask my mom because she just told me like, just wait it out a little longer until, not even until anything, just wait it out. And I'm like, that's definitely not going to work for me. So I can't ask you about how to move or anything like that because you're just going to tell me to stay. So I'm just going to move on with my life and go do what I want to do and I'll figure it out. Right. So I was trying to figure out like how to get a U-Haul and all that kind of stuff to basically hook up my car, put all my stuff in there and then drive like 9-10 hours to Dallas. And I was like, okay, well, when I get there, where I'm gonna go? I was like, okay, let's look at some Airbnbs. I'll stay in an Airbnb until I figure out what area I want to stay in. And granted, financial situation wasn't the best, which is why it was so scary because I had money left over from like my previous paycheck and I had another paycheck coming and then I had my credit cards. That all faith, y'all, all faith. And this is why most people be like, I'm not doing this, but I'm so glad I did it. Okay. So I'm like, okay, well, if I use a U-Haul, I'm going to have to use this much money and this amount of this. So that's going to cut into this. So I'm like really trying to budget everything, but it's still working out. My situationship I was with at the time, they were helping me through this, even though they were like, you're really going to move? I'm like, hell yeah, yes, I'm leaving. I'm leaving everybody. So everyone get used to it. Okay. Just get ready because I'm not going to be here. I was talking to them and they were like, well, last time we saw your dad when we went to North Carolina, he had a truck, right? Like, see if he can like help you move or whatever. I was like, that's a good idea. Even though we don't have the best relationship and we barely talk, let me ask. Let me just see. So I was like, hey, do you have your truck still? Because I'm moving to Dallas and like all this kind of stuff. And he was like, oh, no, I sold it. And I was like, oh, that sucks. I guess I'm going back to the U-Haul. He was like, but I do have a friend that owes me a favor. You know how guys be. They be doing some crazy stuff back in the day. And they always owe somebody a favor. It's crazy. But he's like, I got a guy who owes me a favor and he drives trucks for a living. So I can get a trailer for your car and he can hook it up to his F350, whatever he had, and we'll just drive it there. I said, well, that's going to save a lot of money. A lot of money. So that worked out in my favor. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know how it was going to work, but then talking through it with some people gave me an idea to reach out to ask for help. And I got support in that. And I was able to move my stuff all the way from Nashville in this car and packed up my car, packed up the truck and left whatever I couldn't with some of my friends at their house until I could come back and get it. And then I was able to just book a plane ticket to just fly out rather than driving a U-Haul 9 to 10 hours, right? It worked out so nice. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is how I know I'm heading in the right direction because everything is working out for me and all because I'm following my intuition. Right. So prior to that, I did have a going away party. It was sad. You know, all my friends were there and I was just like, oh my God, you guys, I'm not going to be here. They're like, I can't believe you're really moving. And I'm like, I know, right? I've been saying it, but like, I just sporadically, spontaneously picked this place. And prior to that, I had never been to Dallas. So the week before I moved, I took a trip out to Dallas to just make sure, I wanted to do it, even though everything, I had quit my job. I quit my job. I put my notice in at my apartments. Everything had already been sealed, signed, and delivered. And I had not been to Dallas yet. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go out there a week or two before I got to leave just to make sure, because if not, then I don't know what's going to happen if I get out there and I don't like it because I don't know what's going to happen. The story is so funny, but it's like, it literally changed my whole entire life just following how I felt. So I went out there, to see how I liked it. In the moment that I stepped into my little rental car that I had got, I was like, no, this feels like home. I don't know what it is about it, but it feels like I've been here before. It feels like I've traveled these roads before, and it feels like I'm supposed to be here. So I don't know what source I'm connected to, but I just want to say thank you for leading me here because I don't know. I'm not supposed to know. I'm just supposed to follow with my emotions and things of that nature. And this is what I mean by leading your life with your feelings and having that goal that lights you up in some kind of way and then taking those practical steps and making it happen. So I get to Dallas and I'm trying to paint the picture for y'all. The moment that we pull up, right? Because they come and pick me up from the airport. The moment we pull up to my Airbnb, it is literally like in the slums. Like, I can't say it was in the hood, but it was around a lot of hood activity. Let's put it that way. And I was like, well, okay, this is going to be my home for the next at least month or so. I paid for the Airbnb for like a month. So I'm just going to go and figure it out. And right now I can't back down because they're here with all of my stuff and we're just going to unpack it. And I hope that this is cool. I hope this works. We'll see what happens with this because, yeah, I'm staying in the Airbnb. So I'm in the Airbnb. I got all my stuff there. I'm going, as I'm like trying to get acclimated to this area, because it wasn't Dallas, it was like Arlington, right? And if you are from Dallas, you know Arlington is basically like a Murfreesboro to Nashville. It's like 45 minutes away. And I was like, okay, what's the next move? Like, I have money set aside that's paying for my Airbnb and that's getting me groceries every week. So now what's the move? Do I want to sign a lease somewhere so I can stop spending all my money on these expensive Airbnbs and get locked in somewhere? And then, you know, try to find a job? Like, what do I want to do? Like, yeah, I still didn't even have a job. But I knew that there was a lot of job opportunities. Just looking on Indeed, it was just like, oh, there's so many opportunities here. Like, it won't be hard to get a job. I start another healing process, actually. I was going through a lot of emotions. I was cutting people off left and right because it's like I left Nashville and I wanted to leave Nashville behind me, but not leave everybody behind me. But there were a lot of relationships that I was like, I don't really want these relationships anymore. And really, moving away from them was kind of like a coward move, you know, instead of sitting in my emotions and being like, okay, you know what? I don't want these relationships anymore, and being strong enough to stay in Nashville, even though those relationships were cut off. You know, I felt like I was very fearful that I wouldn't be able to stick to my boundaries if I inserted them while I was still there. I felt like, because I said everywhere that I went, I saw someone I knew. And I felt like if I cut myself off from these relationships while I was still there, I would always see them when I went out or just was going out in town and having fun with people. And I just felt like I wanted to move away and start over with a whole new life. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I'm glad I did that. But I also do feel like I was running away from problems at the same time. So that came from a lack of boundaries and a lack of self-worth on my part, thinking that I could not be confident enough and strong enough to keep people at an arm's length distance from me unless I actually physically moved far, far away, you know? So that's something I had to work on. And even though it was a reaction rather than a well thought out response as to how to cut off those connections, it still changed my life for the better. So as I'm going through these healing phases and everything like that, I'm dwindling down in money, and I'm like, okay, I need to start making some money like ASAP, because like I'm gonna be out here struggling. And it did get to a point where I had to like ask my parents for some money and like ask a friend for money. And I never want to be in that position again, like ever. Hey you guys, my camera cut off once again. This is a long one, so I definitely ran out of storage. But we're back. So like I was saying, I definitely had to, you know, ask around for some money until I could get it together. But I only had to ask once, so I pride myself on that, at least that, right? But yeah, I never want to be in that position again. I ended up finding a job to be like a manager of like this mini like warehouse suite type thing. It was like this guy he has like a vapor business that's purely online, but he expanded. It was based in New Jersey and he expanded out to Dallas, and he needed someone to run his warehouse suite. So when I say a warehouse suite, if you ever heard of like Soapbox, which I had never heard of it until I started working there, it's basically like a salon suites, but for warehouse space. So if you have an online business, it's perfect for you to rent out one of these suites, and you can store all your inventory there, and you can ship orders from there and all that kind of stuff. So I was basically helping him run his business. And it was really, I didn't like the job, but it was really eye-opening, like to talk to him, because he was an entrepreneur, and he just kind of helped me see a lot of different things as to how I could run a business and the different resources that were out there, because I had never heard of warehouse suites before. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So the job was brutal, but overall, the experience that I got there was good, right? And it wasn't making that much money, but it was enough to get me out of the Airbnbs and to start looking for a place to stay. So that takes me to when I had to leave the Airbnb. So I had planned on staying in the Airbnb for a while. I was there for 2 months already. And it was overly expensive. I was like, I could definitely get a lease somewhere and it'd be way cheaper than this. But, for right now, I'm comfortable. I was being real comfortable, even though I didn't like my surroundings. And I knew I wanted to move into the city. So I thought I was going to move to Addison. That was where I really, really wanted to stay for the longest because it just seemed so youthful and like a lot was going on, but it wasn't like in like downtown or anything. So I was like, Addison seems cool. It seems like a lot of young people were there. I can deal with that. But I wasn't planning to move anytime soon. So I went to work one day and I was like, oh, I need to go ahead and add on another month or another week or so onto my Airbnb. It was between a month or a week. I don't know why the span is so drastic, but I was just trying to expand it until I could figure out what my next move was going to be. So during this time, I also was picking up little odd jobs here and there. Like I was doing a lot of stuff, y'all. Because yes, I had my job that finally came through after I applied for something. Like I applied for it and got it like 2 days later. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I was in business by that week. The week that I was asking for money, I was building up my paycheck, but of course when you first get a job it takes a while for you to get money in, so that's why I had to ask for money. But I had things rolling, and I also was getting up like on the days I didn't have to work because my boss was like, hey, you want to work on weekends? And I was like, no, like I already don't like working here through 5 days a week, so I definitely can't do weekends. So I lied and said I had another job, which I did, but I didn't. And so there's this app called the Wessssup app, right? Like I'm the type of person that I'm going to get it no matter how it comes. So I'm going to always give y'all the tips and tricks as to how I proceeded in my life. There's this app called the Wessssup app, and it basically just has jobs where you can sign up for it like whenever they have offerings, really. And so during that time it was real popping. It was super popping. There was always something there, and they had things for like the Samsung warehouse, the HelloFresh warehouse, Six Flags, like just all these little jobs that people really don't want to do. But I was like, I need money, so whatever. So HelloFresh was always paying the most. They was paying like 18 something an hour or something to work for like a full day. And I would get paid like the next day or something like that. So I would get like a little 200 here or a little 300 here, whatever that I needed for the day. And I was like, okay, this could help me get to the next point, I'm always the person who's always looking for how can I make it out of this situation, or what's the next move I need to make. I'm never just sitting here like, oh, I hope something happens. It's like, no, like let's make something happen. But I'm also trying to chase my dreams. So the bigger goal here, the bigger vision is to get to what my goal is, what I desire. But to get there, I got to do all these little mini things. So like, what are my options? What can I do? Let's move some things around. So on the weekends, I would get up at like 4 in the morning so I could get to the job by like 6, and then work all the way until like 6 that evening. Like it was a long, long shift, and I hated it. It was so brutal. It was so brutal, y'all. Y'all don't understand. I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. But in the midst of all that, I was about to extend my Airbnb, and I looked on the app and it said that someone had booked it for the like that following weekend coming up. And I was like, what am I gonna do? Because all of my stuff is here. If someone comes and books it for 2 days, I have to move all of my stuff out, and I'm not gonna move it all the way back in. Like I might as well try to find another solution. So at this point, I was in the space where I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I'm panicking, not sure what the next move should be for me, because I'm like, yo, now I gotta find somewhere else to go, because I'm not gonna move all this stuff back in. Like I said, I just want to be very transparent about all of this, because like I said, when you want to change your life and move towards something that you desire, it might not be easy. I'm not going to say every time is going to be this tumultuous, but sometimes you're going to face things like this. So you already know I'm working my job that I have. Then I'm also picking up these shifts on the weekend. So I'm really working like 7 days straight. Some days, some weeks I'm working 7 days straight. And then the other weeks I would do like just the weekend, just a Saturday, so I could have Sunday off. But I did this for maybe like a month. I didn't do it for long because I can't do that for that long. But I just needed some extra money because I wasn't getting paid that much money from the other job. But I was getting paid enough to sustain what I had going. So once I saw that I needed to make another decision as to where I was going to stay, my survival mode just kicked all the way in. I was like, okay, well, I know that I want to be closer into the city, so let me find accommodation somewhere in the city. I'm looking at Airbnbs. Everything closer in the city is just way out of my price range. And things that are in my price range are too far from the city or in a part of town that I don't want to be in. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, I know I can't really be picky right now, but I deserve to be picky because I didn't come to Dallas just to not be picky. So even though my financial situation doesn't look the best and everything is a little haywire right now, I'm still having my vision in mind. I still have my desire to live a different life than I lived in Nashville here in Dallas. And I'm going to get it. Like, I'm going to get it. So I just thinking about this story. It's just so crazy. I find a hotel that is the DoubleTree. It was a DoubleTree. Yes, it was DoubleTree, and it was in Richardson, Texas, like 15 minutes from the city of Dallas. And I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and get a hotel because it's looking to be way cheaper than the Airbnbs. And then I booked it for like a week and it was less expensive than the Airbnb. So I was like, okay, this seems to be okay. I have money flowing in so I could pay for that. I could pay for this. And you have to remember too, like I'm not having to pay for an electric bill or Wi-Fi or anything like that. So everything is kind of included in that price. So it's not as expensive, but it's not as cheap as just getting into a lease either. So I'm like, all right, I still need extra money. So my credit's still good at this point. And I'm like, let me just pull out a personal loan so that I can try to look for an apartment. But until I can get an apartment, let me just stay in this hotel for like a week or two because I'm not going to go back to this Airbnb. And I'm pretty sure I can get into some kind of lease in the next like week or two. Mind you, I'm still doing my full-time job and I'm still picking up shifts at this other app job every so often on the weekends. Going from the hotel, like it was crazy. I was so crazy. I even had a friend come visit during this whole time and I was like, yeah, I'm staying in a hotel. And we just went out, we partied, we had a good time. Like it was nothing. Like I still enjoyed life even through all of this craziness and uncertainty. But it was a wild ride. I just didn't know what my next move was going to be. And even my boss was like, where are you staying at? Or what part of Dallas are you staying? I was like, oh, I'll stay in a hotel. And they was like, why? I was just like, I'm just trying to figure things out. Like, I'm just trying to figure things out. And I had no shame. Like, I just didn't have any shame in like the way that I was living my life. I knew I wanted to make a big leap. I knew I wanted to change in some kind of way. So I had to do that for myself. I knew I wanted to change my life. I knew I wanted to do something different. And I knew that I was taking a leap of faith. So I knew that there was nothing to be shameful about. I'm just trying to figure it out. So I ended up looking around like, what's the best way to find an apartment? Because I was looking at things on the apartments and I was just like, it's so hard to figure and sift through all this. Like, how do I make a good decision? So I'm looking online on YouTube to see the people who've done like apartment tours and they go and just try to find new apartments. So I'm trying to see what's in the city, what my options are and stuff like that. And I noticed that people keep saying they're apartment locators or they're like, they're apartment locators. That's what they are. And I was like, what is this? What is this apartment locator people keep speaking about, right? And they're basically people who will find you apartments for free. And they get paid by the apartment that you sign a lease with. And 9 times out of 10, they'll have some type of incentive where if you book one of the places that they sent to you or you lease a place that they sent to you or something of that nature. Or even if you found something on your own and you put their name down for them to get paid, you'll get an incentive for them. It'll either be like a refund of money or they'll get movers for up to like 2 hours for you, right? So I was like, oh, this is really nice. Like, I didn't even know that this was a thing. Like, I love being in a big city because I don't think Nashville has things like that. So I was like, okay, an apartment locator, that's cool. Let me tap in. So I reached out to this one girl and she was finding me some apartments and stuff. And mind you, this is all free. So that's why I was like, this is nice. I feel like I'm living a luxury life and don't have to pay for anything. So she's sending me all these apartments. I tell her my price range. And at this point, you guys, like, I couldn't really afford the price range that I was saying, but I wanted to look at those type of places. And I was like, I'm gonna make it work. Like, this sounds really delusional that my bank account doesn't match the rent that I want to pay, but it's not out of like, let me give a number. Like, let's say I wanted to pay, I'm gonna give it a crazy number, so I'm not giving what I actually pay. Let's say I wanted to pay $5,000 for an apartment, but I could only afford to pay $4,000 a month for an apartment, which is crazy. Like, you should just get a mortgage or something, right? But unless you just have a lifestyle that you just want to be in an apartment, I'm not here to judge. Anywho, let's say that's the case, and I'm looking at $5,000 apartments. I knew in my heart that I was going to get some type of job that was going to pay the bills for me. that's just how I operate my life. And I was like, I'm not, if I would have continued to look at things as to what I have right now, I would not be in Dallas. So therefore, I'm going to continue to look at things as to what I want and go towards those things and then make it work and figure it out when I get there. That's just how I operate, and it works for me every time. So I was looking at some things and I was like, okay, this is cute, this is cute, this is cute. And everything she sent me was around the price that I said that I wanted. But then I started doing some research on my own and I found something that was probably like $300 cheaper than what she was sending me. And I was like, I like this one a lot. And so I did a tour and I really loved it. And it was the cheapest luxury apartment that I had seen on the market. And mind you, here in Dallas, the market changes like every week. Like, unless you lock in a price by signing some type of paper, you can come back the next week and it'll jump up like $200 or something like that. And I thought that was crazy. I was like, I have never heard of that. Like, why is that a thing here? So I found a place and I was going back and forth, and I was also waiting to get approved for that loan I was telling you guys about. Because right now I'm living in the hotel. And also I wanted to comment on the fact that when I first went to check into my hotel, I went to the wrong hotel because they have two on the same street, but they're like 15 minutes apart. So I ended up going to the wrong one, and I'll talk about that later. So just know I went to the wrong one, but then I ended up going to the right one, which was 15 minutes away. And so fast forward back to me being at the hotel, waiting on the loan to be approved and still working these jobs. One day I'm doing a weekend shift at the job that I found on the app, and I'm waiting on them to give me an approval. And by this time they said they would have some type of answer. They didn't have anything. So I called and I was like, hey, I'm just waiting on this approval. They're like, oh yeah, you're approved. Like, we're going to send it. I was like, what? Like, I could have been making plans if y'all would have been said something. So they approved me. And that day I just walked out. I just walked out of the job, not my full-time job, but the weekend shift job. I was just like, I'm not even gonna finish the shift because I'm tired. I don't even want to be here. I almost didn't make it through the shift, and really, I didn't make it through the shift because I was just like, did I make it? No, I did. I actually did make it through the shift because I was like, yo, just finish it through, because if anything ever happens again, you don't want your name to be in bad standing if you need to come back and do this, right? So I did finish it, but the next day I had signed up for it, I canceled that day and I didn't go. And so I got the funds and everything, and I was like, okay, which department do I want? I think I really want, it was between 3 apartments, and what it really boiled down to was price. And so I found the cheapest one, which actually turned out to be a really nice one, which every time I tell people what I pay for this apartment I'm in now, they're just like, what? How did you score that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, but it's a nice apartment and it is not as expensive as these apartments normally go for. So I got really, really lucky, and maybe they were just as desperate as I was, like looking for a renter, and I'm looking for a home. Everybody was just like, help. I'm like, help me, I'll help you. So I got a really good deal on it. I end up getting an incentive back or whatever. And to tie in back the hotel that I ended up going to at first, that was the wrong one. How about it's like right across the street from this apartment, y'all? And that's what I'll be talking about when I'm saying like intuition and things happening, things, signs and synchronicities, right? And it was like, I didn't even know this was the area I was going to be staying in. I just popped up at that hotel because I thought that was the right one. That's where my GPS led me. And then when I got there, they were like, oh, actually your reservation's at the other one. I was like, oh, okay, I'll leave or whatever. And so as I moved over here and I was driving somewhere one day and I was like, yo, that's the hotel that I ended up at. That was the wrong one. And this is literally like across the interstate from if I was to walk outside right now, I could look over and see that hotel. And I was just like, that's so crazy to me. That is just so crazy how things be working and conspiring like that. So that's why I just be so excited to see where life is going to take me, because I'm going to be able to look back and be like, man, I didn't even notice that then because I was in this mindset and I was thinking about this thing, so that's how magical things work out. And I'm just here as a testament to just show you guys like how it was working out in my life. So I finally got this apartment, and y'all, I forgot to tell you how brutal my move out from the Airbnb was. Oh my God. Okay. I had to, because the Airbnb had been booked for that next Friday or that following Friday. I found out that I had to move out probably that Sunday. So that whole week, I'm like panicking, like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? So I go and get a U-Haul storage unit, and I get like the smallest one I could get because I'm trying to conserve my money. And I get it in a place called Carrollton. So that was like kind of close to my job, but not really, because I worked in Addison and Carrollton was probably like 15 minutes away. So I was like, let me get something close to my job because I don't really know where I'm going to be staying at, but I do know that I need to secure my stuff, right? And so I put all my stuff I had in there, which was like some totes and some suitcases and just a whole bunch of stuff that I needed. But it wasn't like furniture pieces because I threw all that away from Nashville. I didn't bring any furniture or anything because I knew I didn't know where I was going to be. So it was no point in bringing like all that type of stuff. I sold it. And that's where I forgot. I sold all my stuff. And that's how I had extra money too. Okay. I probably made an extra like $500-$600 off of all the stuff I sold. So that helped me as well. Yeah, I was really out here trying to figure it all out. Like, okay, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's try to like secure myself. Because, you know, when you don't have people on your side who feel like it's a good decision that you're making, they're not really trying to support you like that. Like, they're not going, if they normally support you, it's not that they're going to just like not be on your side, but it's kind of like, they feel as if you put yourself in this predicament, so you need to get yourself out, which is true. That is very true. So I had to get it. I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I got in there. Okay. I got in there, but back to this apartment. Not back to the apartment, back to the U-Haul story. Sorry, y'all, I'm all over the place. I put my stuff, I get a storage unit, and then that Thursday, since I had to be out by that Friday, I'm like, okay, I need to start moving this stuff out because it's going to take me a few trips. I have a little hatchback Nissan Versa, and she can only fit so much. And I'm not going to rent a whole entire U-Haul because that's just a waste of money when I could just take my car back and forth. So y'all, when I tell you I had to get up because I had to be to work by like 8 or 9. Like it was kind of flexible. I could kind of do what I want, but I knew my boss was going to start calling me. So I needed to be there by the time he called me. So it was like 8 or 9 o'clock. I need to be there. I packed up my car around 3 or 4 in the morning, and to the rim, it could only fit. I had like maybe like 6 totes or something. It can only fit like 2 at a time with other things. So I put 2 in there. And I filled up the rest of the car with other things. And I headed on to Carrollton from Arlington, which was a good 45 minutes or so. Dumped my stuff off, went all the way back to Arlington. At this time, it's probably like 6 or so. Load my car up, get my lunch and stuff that I need for the rest of the day, because I'm going to have to go straight to work after I drop this stuff off. And then load my car up, and then I was on my way to the storage, and then I was going to pop on over to work. So that's what I did. Tired, but I had made 2 trips, and I knew I had to make 2 more trips to get the rest of the stuff. And it really wasn't that much stuff. It's just the fact that my car was so small. So I go to work. I'm just delirious. I go home. I start packing up the rest of my stuff. And then the next day I do it all over again. And that last trip almost took me out because my car was tired. I was tired. And I was just like, oh my God, what's next? And then I didn't even put everything in my storage because I still needed stuff for me to live off on. So at this point, the last trip I made, I just took it to work, and I had all my stuff just sitting in the car. Like all my stuff. And I even sold some of my stuff when I got to Dallas. Like I had some monitors that I was using for work, and I was like, I don't really need these because I'm not working from home anymore. So like, I'm just going to sell them. And I got like $200-$300 off of those. So I was just really out here hustling, y'all. I was hustling. I was doing the things that needed to be done so that I could get to where I wanted to be. That's just how it is sometimes. So I had a car full of stuff sitting at work. It's hot too. And I'm just like, yo, I don't want my stuff to like overheat in there. So I did bring in like my cosmetics and stuff into work, and just hoping my boss didn't pop up, because he was all the way in New Jersey. But sometimes he would just be popping up like, hey, I'm in Dallas. Like, yo, like give me a heads up because I need to know that you're going to be here. So I brought my stuff in, and I went ahead and what'd I do? Oh, I just worked for the day. So after that, I knew I had to go check into my hotel. I checked into my hotel, and I had the little storage, whatever you call those things, the luggage carrier things. I had that, and it was filled up to the rim because I'm trying to put all the stuff in my room. And this one guy was like, dang, you got a lot of stuff. I'm like, yo, like I'm trying to be in like incognito, and you like over here blowing my cover. Like, I know. Like, I'm trying to get my life together, and you in my business. Like, you all in my business. Just imagine, it felt like a TV show. Like, you're just trying to live your life and get through your issues alone, and someone's just like, damn. You're just like, really? Seriously? So I get all my stuff up in the room, sweating bullets. It was just a mess. It was crazy. And so, yeah, then we fast forward to me finding the apartment. I get the apartment and I move all my stuff into the apartment. And that is just the day. I have videos of that day because I was just like, I made it. This all was over a span of like 3 months. Okay, so my first 3 months of Dallas all consisted of all of this. And I finally got me an apartment that October because I got here 4th of July weekend. So that October, I got it cracking. I finally got me an apartment, got me some stability. I was over my job, so I started looking for jobs at my job. And then it was just a terrible job, the way they treated their employees to me. And so I was like, I'm leaving, deuces. I started working at GameStop as a visual merchandiser. That place was all right. The people were cool, but the work, it just wasn't for me. So I ended up finding another job and going to work for an architect. But before I get to that job, when I was working at GameStop, I still wasn't making as much money as I wanted to make, and I still wasn't reaching the goals that I wanted to reach. Like, I was reaching the goal of me moving to Dallas, but I was like, I want to make more money and I want to do something in my life that's different. I still had that inkling, like, I'm not done yet. Even through all this, I'm not done. So I continued to find something. I was just still searching out here. But in the midst of that, I was like, let me go back home for Thanksgiving, like, it'll be so nice. At this point, I was not talking to the person I was in a situationship with or anything like that. Like, I had cut them off completely. And I actually had rekindled a friendship in the midst of all this, another friendship. So I was like, I think it's perfect. I've been gone for about 6 months, so let me just go back home and visit, let me see what's popping in the city. I finally got my life together. So now I just want to go to the city and see my people or whatever. And I had just landed the GameStop job as well, but it still wasn't an ideal job for me. So I go back home, and I really did go back home to get some of my stuff because I left a lot of my stuff at people's houses. So I went there to do a trip to bring stuff back on the plane. And so I did get some of my stuff back because it was wintertime. That was the thing. It was wintertime here. And I had all summer clothes. So I had to go back home so I can get all my winter stuff because, y'all, I really moved in bits and pieces and chunks and stuff. So now that I had a stable job in corporate, I went ahead and booked my little trip and did what I had to do. And I had a good time there. And this is where I ended up rekindling my situationship, which was a terrible, terrible idea, which you guys have heard in the previous episodes as to why that was a terrible idea. Okay. But this is where it happened. And I really do feel like I wasn't making the progress in my life because I had decided to dibble back. I decided to, after I had did all of this, to move away from that energy and to move away from different people and situations and stuff. I decided to take my little ass back and be like, oh my God, look what I've been doing. I hope you've changed too. Let's try to rekindle some things. And that was like, Siri was like, no, we're not going to allow you to keep progressing in your life if you're going to go back to that. So I hit a very stagnant point in my life. And I was really unhappy at the job I was at. I was barely making that much money and I was struggling. Even though I had a nice apartment and I had finally got some type of stability, inviting in that energy again kind of stopped me in my tracks from the progression I was making, right? So there's a point where we ended up breaking things off I ended up breaking things off because of some things that had happened and I was just not happy about it. So I went my way away from that situationship, and then I also ended up quitting my job, the GameStop job, but I had another job with the architect firm. So that's when I started working for the architect, finally making the money that I wanted to make and getting back into the interior design field because that's what I thought I wanted. So I did that, hated that job too, and left very, very, very abruptly with that job. I talked about it in this season, how I just kind of slid my key under the door on a Sunday, left my stuff in the office and was like, deuces, because y'all tripping. Y'all really tripping up in here. And y'all don't deserve my respect, but I'm going to give it to you in the best way possible, but I'm leaving. So I left that job, and then that's when I took my break. That's so the episode about taking a break, that's where that whole thing came in or whatever. And then I ended up landing my remote job, right? And very stable as I have been since I've been in Dallas. That took what, almost 2 years to get to this point. And even though I went through all of that and it took me that long to get to this point, I have a new goal and a new desire that I really want to reach. Okay. And it's going to require me to take a really big leap of faith, a really big leap of faith. I'm very positive about it, but I'm very in my head about it, which I keep talking about. And I know that I can't be scared if I want to make a change, because look how far I've come in my life because of that risk I took in the first place. Me leaving Nashville and leaving everything and everyone that I know to live a life of uncertainty got me to the happiest place I've ever felt in my life. So I tell you guys this full, lengthy, detailed story to give you hope if you're thinking about taking a leap of faith, to let you know that even though things will be rocky, even though things might not be fully planned out and you don't know what the next day is going to look like or how you're going to make it at all, things will move in order to make sure that you're good, as long as you have the intention of making sure you're good. Like, they're not going to move and shake for you if you're just going to sit on the couch and wait for someone to come rescue you. It's not going to happen that way. But if you're putting your energy into making sure that, hey, let me go find this resource, let me go look at this knowledge, let me try to put my work into this, let me try to work towards something, even when you're in that changing, transformative energy, things will move and shake for you. You saw in my life, things moved and shaked for me. Things just happened. But I was also working towards things. I was also going through the trenches on the other side of things. But things came together for me the way that I came together for myself. So you guys, that's my story. That is my story as to how I left Nashville, came to Dallas, and just changed my life. And now anytime my people come out here, they're just like, whoa, like you out here, I'm like, I am out here. I'm out here. Of course, not without the help of the people who supported me. You know, I can't go without saying, like, people in my life, like my parents. And well, my parents helped me financially some of the way, as much as they could, but you still see my story. I still was out here selling stuff. I was still out here doing odd jobs. I was out here jumping from job to job, and that's how I upped my salary, because I was just jumping and asking for more and getting out of the comfort zone of staying small and being like, hey, I have this expertise, y'all need to pay me this. And then they paid me, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I had to cross a lot of different hurdles and do a lot of different things in order to get to this point. But it's all leading to a bigger picture to me. Like, all of those things I went through are nothing but big skills that I'm going to use in the future when I become an entrepreneur or when I follow these business dreams that I have for myself. So yeah, you guys, that is what I wanted to tell you guys about Fellowship Hour. It's been a long one. I mean, my camera died twice, ran out of storage. I had to re-record something because my mic wasn't plugged up. It was a lot. And it just goes to show that is how it's going to look when you try to change your life. And don't be discouraged. Like, don't be discouraged. Like, keep going. Just remember that everything's going to be okay. You wouldn't be going towards this thing if it wasn't something you really wanted, and if it wasn't something that was meant for you, because you don't just believe in things and feel things that aren't meant for you. That's just not how it works. They're there for a reason, and it's on you to take the leap towards that and to embrace the life of uncertainty. And honestly, I think it's kind of fun. You know, I think of it as like, one day when I have a really big family, I'm going to be able to sit down and tell them, like, y'all, I did some crazy shit back in the day, but it was fun. And I encourage you to go do some crazy shit too, because it's life. How else you going to live if you don't go out there and just explore and just put yourself in stuff? You're not going to. So get out there, experience, do some crazy stuff that people don't think that you should do, but you want to do, and change your life, boo. Change your life. You're going to be happy. You're going to be happy that you did. So thank you guys so much for listening to my story, and I hope it inspired you, because it was a lengthy one, and this is just my truth. I literally lived this life. I'm not making it up. So we're going to go ahead and take all of this experience and knowledge and create some wisdom in the lab. Let's go. All right, you guys. So you already know I got my handy dandy notebook. Number 1 in the lab: is there a particular part of your life that needs to change? So, we're evaluating our life in this one. This is a This is a heavy episode. So you know if there's something you need to change or not. And what does that look like for you? Okay. Number 2, have you identified what the root issue is in this particular part of your life? Why do you want to change it? What is it that's bothering you? What is it that you do not like that you want to change about it? Try to identify that. Number 3, have you tried to change this particular part of your life before? If so, what happened? If not, why now? Okay. So number 3 again, have you tried to change this particular part in your life before? If so, what happened when you did that? And if not, why do you want to do it now? Number 4, list out a few things this change in your life will affect once it happens. Okay, so if it has to deal with your kids, or it has to deal with your spouse, or it has to deal with your job, or just something internally within you, write that down, evaluate that, and look at it. I want you to write this list so that you're aware of the things that it will affect, but don't let it stop you. You know, it might just need to be some conversations that you have. It might need to be a mindset perspective. It might need to be some other things you need to put into place so that they're not as affected as much. And by that, I mean, like, let's say you're going to deal with a lot of mental energy. Well, maybe you need to build you a workout routine or a meditation routine so that you stay centered while you're going through these changes. Okay. Or maybe if it has to deal with your children or something, maybe you need to find someone who can help you with them as you're going through this change. Just whatever it looks like for you, try to identify those things and how you can make them work with your change. Number 5, write down 5 objectives to reach your new life-changing goal. Okay? Write them down. Figure out what it's going to take for you to reach this, okay? And remember, things will change. You will need to be flexible. You will need to be patient, and you will need to be adaptable. Just because you write it down this way does not mean it's going to happen that way, but at least you have something concrete to go back to if you feel like you're falling off course. That's it. So yeah, you guys, those are the questions for the lab. I hope that they get you thinking. I hope that you can change your life like I changed my life, and you can just continue to reach for what you want, because that's what you deserve. Point blank, period. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into my favorite part of the show. Okay. And that is a moment. Hey y'all, thank you for joining me for a moment meditation. We're going to go ahead and get right on into it. If you have not been a part of a meditation with me before, I go through a method for about a minute. It's like a breathing technique. And then for the rest of the time, I let you just fall into your subconscious, okay? So the method that I go through is called the EAR method that I created. It stands for E, embrace. So you're going to embrace your thoughts while you're inhaling a breath. A is for accept. So you're going to hold your breath and accept the thoughts that have come in. And then R is for release. You're going to release your thoughts as you exhale the breath that we inhaled and held. Okay. So when you are breathing, I want you to remember to try to breathe from your diaphragm and your stomach area and not necessarily your chest area. Like, of course, we have to use our lungs and things of that nature, but you want to make sure that you're getting your deep breaths from your stomach. So when you inhale, your stomach expands. When you hold, of course, your stomach doesn't do anything. And then when you exhale, your stomach contracts back. Okay? Before we get started, I want to go ahead and clear the energy, clear your space. So I want you to go ahead and take a deep breath in, hold it, and release. Take a deep breath in, hold it, and release. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. All right. I want you to inhale and embrace, hold and accept, exhale and release. Inhale and embrace, hold and accept, exhale and release. Inhale and embrace, hold and accept, exhale and release. Inhale and embrace, hold and accept, exhale and release. Inhale and embrace. Hold and accept. Exhale and release. Inhale and embrace. Hold and accept. Exhale and release. One more time. Inhale and embrace. Hold and accept. Exhale and release. The rest of the time will be for you to dive into your subconscious, all right? All right, you guys, I hope you had a great meditation. Before I let you go and you link back up with other Katera, I want to just give you some tips real quick. Sometimes I get fidgety in my meditations and I can feel myself moving my fingers around, or I might want to check the time or something. Allow all of that to happen. Embrace that if that happens to you. Don't feel like you have to be, it's like just stone cold straight, no movement. Things will happen. Sometimes I laugh through my meditation. So if you caught me smirking, it's because just different thoughts come up in my head that make me laugh. So there's just different things that happen in your meditation. I just want you to know that whatever your meditation practice looks like, is perfect for you. It doesn't have to look like everyone else's. So if you felt like you were not that successful in this meditation because you didn't finish, or you were fidgety, or you were thinking about things that made you laugh, just know that you were 100% efficient and you did exactly what needed to be done because you grounded yourself so that you can be present throughout the rest of your day. Okay? So I will see you guys in the next clip. Toots. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to this episode, getting a piece of my life, getting all of my business, really, because y'all just nosy. But I just want to say thank you so much for just listening to my story and all of you guys' kind words. You guys are always just telling me, we appreciate your message, or you help me think differently about things, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for tuning in to this session today. If you want to keep up with me outside of the podcast, remember you can find me on IG, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube at The Emotional Workshop, okay? And if you want to watch this and you're not on Spotify, it'll be on YouTube, but you can definitely watch it on Spotify. Also, check out the polls that I leave at the end of the episodes, or wherever they're at on Spotify. Check those out, answer them, leave me a little feedback, and leave me some comments either on YouTube or on my IG page so that I can interact with you guys. I love talking to y'all. So I appreciate you guys communicating and coming to be a part of the shop today. Okay, so I hope that you guys do something that makes you feel extremely loved this week, and that you have a very fulfilling week ahead. And until next time, I hope to see you guys in the next session. All right, bye, y'all.